episode of Termite's Buzz, a weekly video game podcast where your host, me, Termite, runs you through the weekly video game industry news, some trophies and things that I'm playing and what I'm going through in my video game time, as well as wrapping up at the end with another retro discussion. Some housekeeping right off the bat. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope to find you well. I had COVID last week, and so I missed a Monday. And it might be like the only Monday I've ever missed in like the 7 years I've been doing this podcast. Or maybe like there's fewer than 3 ever. I don't know. I'd like to think that I have never missed a Monday, but I'm not 100% sure. So bonus points for any audience listener who can go back and find a Monday that I've missed other than September 11 minus 7. What day was that? I don't even know because I was sick. The 4th. I missed on September 4th. So apologies for missing an episode. And now I have to cram 2 weeks worth of industry news and happenings into one episode. So this is going to be a very meaty one. I don't plan to talk about any retro discussions. Thank you for your patience. COVID is a weird disease. It affects seemingly everyone so differently and wild. I am a 37-year-old adult man. I am very healthy. I run all the time. Very, very active. Some would say I'm, quote, an athlete. And as far as like how you would, it's dumb because I feel like I'm overweight and slow and like not really that great. But whatever have you. I eat right. I try to eat right. I don't drink a whole lot of alcohol, and I run a lot. So I'm pretty healthy. So the first time I got COVID was a year ago, January. So January of 2022. And it hit me with the hardest fever I have ever had in my life, and it was abrupt, sudden, and out of nowhere, except because I don't even know how we got it, but I did, and it wrecked. That one day of a really bad fever wrecked me a lot. It was really, really bad. Delirious, out of breath from just walking from the bed to the bathroom, across the bedroom, that kind of stuff. This time, it hit me with a fever again, except I woke up with a fever on Sunday morning. And it was a very mild fever. It was just enough to stop me from going out for a run that I wanted to go on and then put me on the couch for the day and not have a lot of energy to deal with children and like running around chasing kids and stuff. I could still get up and down and like I wasn't winded. I was nowhere near delirious. But, you know, I had the tired body ache feel for one day. And then I just wanted to recover and make sure I was there. The kids were home with it. They actually brought it home from school is how they got it. It's how it came into our household. And so I hear stories of other people getting massively sore throats. I hear other people like lose their taste and their smell, as you know. It's a respiratory virus, so a lot of people get coughing. I never had that. I never had the whole coughing thing, nor did my children. So like I said, it affects everyone differently. It's all weird. The only reason why I know is because a neighborhood kid here tested positive, and they're in the same class as my son. So I tested my son. He tested positive. So I was like, well, crap. I should also test just in case because I'm the one that runs all the errands in our family because I work from home. So I can go to the grocery store. I can like go do the things that I need to do, and usually involves running into buildings and such. And so we all tested, and everyone was positive except for my wife. So she was able to go back to work, and I was home with the kids for several days, which is really the reason why I couldn't get away to record and do this podcast. So thanks for hanging in there. COVID's going around. Everyone be safe out there. Be mindful of spreading germs. I know I wore a mask for the 10 days that they let me every time I was in any space that was confined with folks. I know some of the studies are all like showing kind of inconsequential data about whether or not masks are effective or not, but there is just enough data out there that does support enough of a help from masks that it makes me okay wearing them whenever I need to. And, you know, I try to stay away from folks if I'm feeling ill, etc. And just, you know, be mindful about like if you're going to take a trip and go see family, like maybe don't go to that party, maybe don't go into a crowded elevator, or maybe don't go to a concert right before you go see your elderly folks or what have you. Just to, you know, be on the extra cautious side. Nothing like lockdowns, nothing like, you know, the craziness we went through in 2020. But let's, you know, take it seriously enough. So I did all of that. Kept my kid home. No, not allowed in other people's houses. Made sure he wore a mask if he was outside playing with other kids after day 6. And I followed the school's guidance exactly to the letter. Now everyone's good. Everyone's fine. It's all fine. It's all cool. So back to reality, back to life. Yeah, this weekend was spent. I did another long run with my training group that I train with. So shout out to them. They're amazing. They put on a long run every single weekend with water support, marked track, or a marked run, if you will. Like long runs are usually just on streets around the area that I live in Charlottesville. And there's like marked roads and routes, and we all meet together and run. It's fantastic. Spend a couple hours sweating it out, talking about our lives. It's wonderful. So that's what's going on in my life. I hope to, like I said, I hope to find you well. Lots has happened in the video game industry world this past 2 weeks. I can't wait to talk to you all about it, to share my thoughts. So I guess I'm going to start with what I'm playing and the trophies I'm going after. Didn't I get a platinum? Let me check first because it's been a while. I think I did get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge platinum. I did, and that was platinum number 96. I don't know if I said that on last 2 weeks ago episode because I don't remember exactly when I achieved it. It was August 27th, so no, I would not have been able to report that on the show. So yeah, platinum number 96 happened, and that is Shredder's Revenge on PlayStation 5. As you may know, there's a DLC that's out now that's absolutely incredible. It's like $8, so there unfortunately is no new trophies with the DLC, but it does have a new survivor mode and 2 new characters, and I've started dabbling with them, but this game hasn't taken the front and center of what I'm about to talk about, so it kind of fell by the wayside really quickly after a few rounds of Survivor. Had a blast. I'm dying to get together with some friends. T-Bone, I'm looking at you. James, let's go. Get some Ninja Turtles survival mode, drink a few whiskeys, have a good night playing video games. But then there's Diablo 4, and there's so many other games that we could play. I know Baldur's Gate 3 is popping. I don't have it yet, but it's out there. So that's another thing that happened in the industry is Baldur's Gate 3 is now available on PlayStation 5, and it has been received very well. Apparently, it's getting 10s. Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing. That's a news bit, but I don't know why I even mentioned it because I'm not playing it. Anyway, that was just a whole segue. It didn't need to happen. So what did happen, though, is on September 1st, or August 31st, was Sea of Stars finally came out. Sea of Stars, for those who don't know, I'm going to make sure I get all of my facts straight here, is a retro-esque video. It's a brand new game, developed by Sabotage Studio, who did The Messenger. They made a game that is in the art style of a 32-bit, 16-bit JRPG from the PlayStation 1 Super Nintendo era. And if you can think of like Chrono Trigger, you've nailed it. That's the art style. It's like Chrono Trigger. I say 32-bit because there's another game for PlayStation called Alundra that this game also reminds me of, is like how the environments are laid out and how traversing the world kind of feels. So if you're familiar with Alundra, I don't think anybody else is comparing the game to that, but here I am. So retro-styled art design, gorgeous, colorful, with dynamic biomes and experiences. This game is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to kind of run you through my thoughts of how I am with this game. I've put in the COVID time was perfect because I sunk so many hours into this game. I was just in the living room. It's kid friendly because it's charming and bright and the music's amazing. And so I was able to play it with like the kids around, and they're sick. I'm sick, so there's low energy everywhere, and I'm just like taking the story in. It's awesome. So the music, speaking of that, is top notch. The developers worked with Yasunori Matsuda. He's the guy who did Chrono Trigger and Xenogears. He mixed those like composing arrangements in with the music. And then also Eric Brown, who did the music from Messenger with like more of the electronic rock kind of harder hits. All of that, of course, sounds like it's been piped through like a Super Nintendo sound engine, so it's kind of got the chiptune feel to it. Look up the soundtrack. It's amazing. Just don't read the song titles because it might spoil some things. So it absolutely slaps, and it hits all the emotional beats of the game. It totally gets the feel for each area. Like the battle music is the same battle song, but it changes slightly with like each different flavor of area you go as you progress the game. It's awesome. It kind of gives you that extra layer of immersion and feel. I love this game. It has what I didn't expect at all from the reviews and the previews is a Metroidvania style of exploration. So you get abilities later that will help you backtrack and unlock things. And I love this, especially in the art style that it's presented. It's like, oh, there's this door with these runes on it. You're like, what? You run through your inventory, you're like looking at all your ability, like you hit all the buttons. I don't know what to do with this. Like, what's going on? And then sure enough, like hours later, a story beat happens, and you're like, oh, I can unlock this door now. So you know to go back and do that. There's like, they didn't reveal this in the trophy guide for like spoiler purposes, but there's a parrot that you get that you can use a map, and you can kind of like ask the parrot what's left to do on each island. And it will tell you, no, there's more treasure chests here, or there's more things here to collect. So it's a way you can kind of keep track of yourself. I don't find that spoilery because I'm not going to say anything more than that. So it does have the Metroidvania style, which I love Metroidvania style games. It's just a different way of implementing that kind of concept of you get something, a new ability, a new thing, a new item, and then it forces you to kind of go back and retrace your steps, check out old environments because you can now traverse new stuff. I love that. That's fantastic. And then the battle system, of course, is a mix of Chrono Trigger. If you've seen any of the demo previews or anything, where the enemies appear on the level you're in, so there's no battle sequence, like you hit an enemy and all of a sudden the screen swirls and now you're in a whole new scene. No, the enemies just kind of jump out in front of you where you're standing, just like Chrono Trigger did. Also, it borrows the combo system from Chrono Trigger, where you can have party members that you can swap in and out, but the combination of the party members dictate what their combo moves are, and you can do combo moves with that, which is really cool to like test out and try new things. And the battle system actually lets you swap out your characters real time, like Final Fantasy X. So you can swap out right now. It's just like, bam, I don't want to use this person. Or this enemy has this weakness, this character has this strength. I'm going to pair that up so I can win. So that's really cool. Of course, the Mario RPG influence is solid and hard here with all of the timed hits. So when you attack, you press the X button at the right time. I'm playing it on PlayStation 5. And you can do more damage. When you get hit, you can press X to block, and you can resist. You can reduce the amount of damage it takes. And then it has like the magic abilities where you hold X until a certain point and let go to build power, or you like throw a boomerang, and every time it comes back at you, you have to press X to time it right, and you can deflect the boomerang back at the enemy, hitting the enemy over and over and over again. So that's awesome. It keeps you engaged in the combat, so you're not just sitting there like on your phone mashing X as you accidentally run into an enemy. It keeps you actively engaged. So you want to change up your combos, who you're swapping your characters in and out, especially when it comes to bosses. And then the last layer of the combat system that I really, really love is enemies will have these like blocks appear above them, and it'll have like a picture of a hammer, a blade, the moon, the sun, and that means that you need to hit them with either a blunt object, a blade object, or hit them with moon or sun magic, and to get rid of the squares. And when you remove all the squares, you stun the enemy and you interrupt their attack. And there's a countdown timer for how many turns until they attack. So like you can walk through. It's very Octopath Traveler, where you have to hit the enemies with their weak like weapon, whatever weapon type you hit them with, or magic type, like you have to hit them there. And so it borrows so many different systems, and it's woven together really well. I absolutely love it. It's super cool. Great game. And then last but not least, the story. It's engaging. It's heartfelt. I've almost cried a few times just walking through like the emotions of the game. It's about the solstice children, so children of the solstice who will combine the powers of sun and moon to perform eclipse magic, the only force capable of fending off the monstrous creations of the evil alchemist known as the Fleshmancer. And what I really love about this is like they're innocent children. They have a great friendship bond formed, but two of the children are these special solstice warriors that get whisked away in childhood at some time in their childhood to like go train with like a master. This is like the intro, the headmaster. And so there's one friend who's left behind who's sad but is willing to wait. He's a very Samwise Gamgee kind of loyal. I will wait here to eternity until you guys are done with your training so that we can hook back up again and have fun and go on adventures. It's so charming. It's so awesome. It's great. And then there's also like this whole system with the Solstice Warriors. There's been these iterations of Solstice children that have been born. They're gifted these powers. They do this stuff, and the cycle repeats, years and generations later. And there's like all the cycle of vengeance and death. Yes, that's a Hamilton quote. With no defendants. So this game also deals with like that cycle and these specific children wanting to break out of that cycle and question like the reality around them, and kind of this is, to me, it's very, very personal, because it's like, you buy into a system. Say like I went to church for a long time and I bought into the whole like conservative evangelical world where this is your reality, this is your world, these are gender roles, this is how a family looks, this is how you live your life, this is what you believe, and this is why. But when you break out of that and you break that cycle, how revealing everything is, and how broad your vision actually is, and how constrained it was. And there's this whole like, all of that to me is relatable to these solstice children who have been raised in this system or this cycle with the headmaster doing the year after year of these solstice children becoming warriors and attacking enemies, these big things called dwellers that come in and like will attack the world, but they have to keep them at bay, so they constantly defeat these dwellers, but new ones keep coming back. And so they have like, you are destined by the fact that you were born during the solstice you have to do this, and this is your entire existence. And then there's this whole like break that cycle, and like, no, I don't have to do this at all. And like, what about my own life and my own freedoms and like my own human experience? It's fantastic. This game is very deep, and I probably like exposed way too much of my own personal life, but it is working. It's there. The game is, I'm not even done with it yet. It's not super long. Apparently it's like 20 to 30 hours, and if you want to platinum it, it's like 40 to 50. So I'm maybe 2/3 of the way towards the platinum now. So I've put some time into it. Great freaking game. Sea of Stars. It's on all the platforms. I highly recommend it, and it's great. I can't sing its praises enough. And the other big news that has taken over everything in the video game industry is Starfield. Starfield has been released. And you're wondering, this is not the news segment, this is what Termite is playing. And I am playing Starfield because I have Game Pass. I was able to play it September 6th when the plebes like myself that didn't do the extra bonus pre-order bundle platinum version, whatever the crap, premium package to play it early. I didn't want to spend any money on the game because I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't know how it was going to hook me, and I also didn't make any time for it because I'm playing other stuff. So now my entire Twitter feed is nothing but Starfield. All of my favorite gaming websites are nothing but Starfield articles and tips and tricks and things the game didn't tell you and all this other stuff, optimization settings, and it just goes on. Like, it's been this way since the 6th. Today's the 10th, so it's 4 days in now, and it's nothing but Starfield. Now, there's also this whole, like, toxic interaction going on amongst the gaming industry folks where you have the people, the more progressive folks kind of on the defense of the more conservative folks. The conservative folks are mad because you can choose your pronouns when you create a character, and apparently that like struck up a whole beat. So people just need to relax and like be okay with the fact that we can have whatever pronouns we want, and that's fine. And your right to a pronoun matters. And so like if you want to make a dude and that's clearly like looks like a male, but the pronouns she, her, then go for it, and vice versa. Like, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Let people have their game. Let people represent themselves in the game, and let there be peace, love, and holding hands, and awesomeness, and collaboration, and love for each other. And all this vitriol's got to stop. I hate it. I always speak against it whenever it happens. And so this is just sickening and disgusting to see the hate on the internet just because Bethesda tried to allow folks to have representation of themselves in this game. The character creator is awesome. You can create any sort of combination of race, ethnicity, female, male, like whatever you want to call, like gender norms, quote unquote, like looks. You can do that. Any combination of whatever you want, along with a pronoun that may or may not match what you would typically assume would match that look. And it's great because people can really do awesome things with it and put themselves in the game or put their best friends or live however they want in the game. Love it. So I'm all for it. Thank you, Bethesda, for doing that. So this game is totally a Bethesda game. I don't know if you've played other Bethesda games. To me, this feels like a direct sequel to Fallout 4. Like, it's Fallout 4 is set in like a fake 1940s, 50s era America with nuclear bombs going off, set in Boston. I feel like this is the 2300s of that world, which is hilarious. I don't know why I feel that way. It just has that same vibe, same feel. There's nothing in the plot that indicates that that's true. It's just my feeling for it. So you have to have played a Bethesda game to understand and set expectations for Starfield. Yes, you can loot absolutely everything. Yes, encumbrance is super annoying and stupid, and I wish it didn't exist. You have a ship cargo hold. You have your own inventory space. You can become encumbered. You can't run. You can't fast travel. Well, you can run, but it depletes oxygen. It's a whole thing. It has the go anywhere kind of vibe to it. I say, like, in quotes, you can go anywhere you want to go whenever you want to go sort of idea, but there's still like a very linear story path to choose. But there's different branching paths. So there's, of course, the main story path, and then there's these different factions, and you can choose a faction to join, and they have their own quest lines. But when you choose one faction, you kind of lock yourself out of the other ones. And there's dialogue choices, of course. You can get companions that travel alongside you, and you can establish relationships with them by making choices where they like or dislike you. All of this stuff is kind of prevalent in previous Fallout games or Skyrim, Elder Scrolls games. So that's all here, and it's awesome. It's great. Space travel is really sweet. You can get this awesome spaceship, and you can like gravity jump to any planet, moon. The map is really cool. The UI is nuts. It needs a lot of work. It's really hard to navigate and figure things out. I watched and read a few articles on YouTube and Reddit, whatever, to like figure out some tips and tricks about pressing A at certain points in the map to you can fast travel way more than I thought you could. So I was doing a lot of extra running around than I needed to. And once I learned that, it feels way more snappy and fast. Despite loading screens between every single transition, I don't care. It's great. So, the settlements from Fallout 4 are now called outposts, so you can create, an outpost on a planet, and you can field it with companions, NPCs, to work it for you and collect resources that the planet would provide, and you can use those resources to build more things, to build more outposts, to customize your ship, to, I was going to say retrofit, but that doesn't make sense, to, upgrade your gear and your weapons and all the supply things you need for all that stuff. It's all there, just like it was in Fallout 4. All the different workbenches that you need to do those. You can you have a space suit you can upgrade. You have a ship you can upgrade. You have your weapons, of course. You can do research to back the backbone to all the things. It's you have to research your helmet level 2 so that you can upgrade. You have access to all the level 2 upgrades for your space helmet. That kind of stuff all requires looting all of the rooms and killing enemies and looting the bodies, collecting resources, setting up outposts, and farming resources that are in mass that you need for things. So all of that stuff is there. I haven't touched any of that, none of it. I am doing nothing but quests, and I am having a blast. And the environmental storytelling is top notch. It's Bethesda's kind of bread and butter. So the story itself is fantastic. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue, and there's layers upon layers of things being revealed slowly. And some of the I'm trying to focus more on side quests so I don't burn through the main story so fast. This game hooked me. It hooked me hard. I haven't really played much once Starfield came out. It took me away from Sea of Stars, and I've been doing nothing but playing Starfield constantly, and I've put way too many hours in it than I should, and it's kind of a thing. So I need to pump the brakes. So today, Sunday, I haven't even touched it yet. We did a family thing. We went all the way up to a furniture store, IKEA. Of course, everyone knows IKEA, but it's really far from my house, so I had to take a break. I did that. I'm dying to get back to Starfield. I probably won't get back to it till tomorrow, but I'm super in. So the story, the layers of mystery and intrigue, nothing is as it seems, and I feel like that's good. A good Fallout, Bethesda staple. It's I don't know, you go and you find a rock, it's collecting dust somewhere, you put you see visions and things, that's the intro mission, and then you're suddenly involved in this whole intergalactic relationship, universal colonization, all this stuff, it's crazy, and the lore is deep, and the story walks you through some of the lore, but some of the lore is optional, as it always is in Fallout games, so you collect the lore through. You can walk through a museum and interact with a switch, and you press the button as if you were in a museum in real life. You'd press a button, and there'd be dialogue displayed, and a light would come on and show a picture of some things and walk you through the history of the world and all of the different factions. So that's cool if you want to consume that. But what I love about the side quest specifically, which I'm getting back to, it's what I'm focusing on now, so I don't blow through the main story so fast. But with side quests, some of them have as much depth as the Witcher 3 side quest did, where you go somewhere and it's seemingly a benign situation that you can fix really quickly. It turns into a big, deep conspiracy. And I'm going to use one of the lighter examples here because it might be spoilery for some, but it's not consequential at all, at least not yet. And that is where I got a quest for some brownouts in an undercity. I think it was on Mars. And you go investigate them. So you talk to someone who's an electrical maintenance person, and oh yeah, there's these brownouts. We got to use the power panels to trace it out. So when you shut this panel off, where's the electricity routed from? And you do this, it's kind of tedious. You just walk around the whole area, but it's kind of cool because it gets you out into the world. It makes you explore the corners of this big sprawling city that you normally wouldn't. So think of Cyberpunk and Night City, where you have this big open world type place to go around. There's corners you would never go see unless a quest brought you there. So that's kind of the behind the scenes motivation for this. So you're running around, you're investigating these little power panels, whatever, and that's fine, whatever. What you end up finding out and uncovering is the brownouts are caused by the illegal activities of a trade authority siphoning power to continue something akin to Bitcoin mining. So you can choose to collect the data and bring it to the actual authorities, implicating the trade authority, or you can support the nefarious deeds of the trade authority and sweep it all under the rug. However you want to choose that, which is kind of cool. But with the environmental storytelling they were doing here in that quest, this isn't talked about in the quest verbiage. It's not there's no radio transmission for you to do this. There's no marker for you to interact with it. But part of that quest, when you're going after the power panels, I walk into an apartment and there's a body on the floor. and you're like, oh, I need to investigate this power panel that's over here. Well, out busts a robot from the bedroom of this apartment and attacks you. And this thing looks like one of the Boston Robotics, like dog robots. And so it's jumping around and like trying to kill you. So you blow the thing up, you destroy it, and you're like, whew, well, that's whatever. And you go investigate the power panel, and you could just move on, and that would be it, right? Oh, it's just blocking the power panel. But there's also a computer you can look at. Again, optional. So I went over to the computer and read the one correspondence. There was more than one note, but correspondence between two people, and clearly the body, there's a name. His name is Trevor. He's dead. Had stolen this robot and didn't want to pay the owners for it. And the owner decided to remote activate it and kill him, turn on the kill switch. And so that robot had killed that body. It's on the floor of the apartment. You can go over to it, loot it. There's a key. You can use the key to unlock the safe, and you get some extra loot. I thought it was really cool to like just complete character interaction right here in this it seems kind of small, like it's just an apartment, there's a robot and a dead body, and like, okay, but it all feeds into the greater like narrative of what's going on Mars. Why is the city here? What's the trade authorities, like all of it just fits, and it gives like a flavor and a little spark. It's awesome. And there's this stuff everywhere. Starfield is extremely broad. It's big, it's huge. I think you could spend 300 hours in this game and you would never have even seen what I just experienced, which is where I love the idea of the random events happening. You can like be exploring a planet apparently, and pirate ships can come land there, or you could stumble upon like a settlement and they'll attack you or not, and you can create a relationship and do dealings with them, or you can kill them and steal their ship, like all this random stuff, which is very reminiscent to me of when Red Dead Redemption 2 had come out. And there's enough randomization that everyone seems to have a different experience, or like go in a different order than you have to. And even though there is a main through line for like a story and a plot, there's so much variability in how you approach the game. You can do so many different things. Of course, you can become a bounty hunter. You can become a space pirate. You can just be like, I joined the UC Navy, and the UC is like the United Colonies, like big government across the galaxies, across planets. They're like their own faction. So that's the faction I chose, and I joined their navy and like went over and went through the initiation process to like be instated and have like a membership with them, and what do you call, like, to become a civilian with them. That whole quest line was crazy, and it sent you like, surprise, you go, and I'm not going to spoil that part at all, but like stuff you won't expect always. And that's what it goes back to The Witcher, where it's like you're just sent to go check on this outpost. There's nothing out there. It's just an outpost. Oh, there's some stuff going down out there. It's awesome. So I'm having a blast with Starfield. It really is hooking me more than I thought. And it does have all the trappings of Fallout, which I hated when Fallout 3 had come out back on the 360 and PS3 days. I did not like it at all until I played The Witcher 3 on PS4 in 2015, and that completely was enough to where it was like Fallout Light, or a Bethesda Light. CD Projekt Red has their way of doing their RPGs, and The Witcher 3 has a very deep story. Seemingly more fleshed out AAA feeling and dialogue and animations and facial structure and all that stuff at that time. It was like next level, crazy, next gen, amazing. And that turned me around. It kind of gave me the flavor. It changed my perception of how to approach a Bethesda game. It trained me, so to speak, so I can approach a Bethesda game and enjoy it. So I've gone back. I loved Fallout 4. It was absolutely incredible. I went back and played Skyrim on PS3, and I put so many hours into it, but never actually finished the game because I got distracted by the whole vampire DLC thing, which was awesome. And then now I'm playing. Well, I played Fallout 76 after that, and I was one of its like, cheering it on. What do you call, like, I was for it, and no one else really was, so I felt kind of alone there. That game was really bad when it first came out, but it's awesome now. And the combat actually in Starfield, to me, is pulled out of Fallout 76 more than anything else. It's how it feels, except Fallout 76 is always online, so you can't pause it. With Starfield, you can, so that's cool. So, yeah, highly recommend Starfield and Sea of Stars. 2 amazing games. And then, in the same week, Respawn Entertainment under EA announced a new patch for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It is patch 7, and it came out in September, 1st or 2nd. And absolute game changer finally fixed and brought the performance mode fixes for PS5 that were plaguing this game. The performance in this game was awful. There was so much clipping. There was so much like pop in and like the environment flickering, and the frame rate was just all over the place. And even if the frame rate was 60, it was still stuttering, and it was awful. It didn't really do VSync very well. It had no variable refresh rates or anything like that. It was just bad. So the patch notes, I'm going to read them to you. Performance mode has been completely reworked to substantially improve player experience. A number of GPU and CPU combinations, along with disabling ray tracing, has resulted in a better player experience, including a solid 60 frames per second in performance mode. Quality mode has also received optimizations to help reduce frame rate fluctuation and introduce other visual improvements. They added variable refresh rate support for PS5. It completely feels like a new game. I installed this patch immediately. I never uninstalled the game because I haven't finished it yet. It's on my list to platinum. I finished the story, but I'm now going back and like retracing old steps, Metroidvania style, new abilities. I can go anywhere now. So I've been slowly and meticulously not feeling it, but like going back to play Star Wars. I love this. This is amazing. It caused me to go and sink like another 5 hours into exploring Kobo and getting a whole bunch of extra stuff, looking at the trophy guide and continuing where I left off, and working my way through the platinum. Yes, the game is finally fixed. It's perfect. Well, it's not perfect. It's almost perfect. There's still a couple of situations that aren't great, but it is leagues better. It just does feel like an entire new game. I feel like I got a whole new console. Like when you get a new video card in your computer and you reboot up an old computer game that you couldn't run hardly at all or like terribly, and now it runs buttery smooth on max settings. That's what this feels like again, and I love that feeling, and it's totally worth going back to play if you are at all interested in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I don't know about the PC version. I heard it was bad. The patch notes here indicate that they also fixed the PC version, so if you have it installed, or if you had uninstalled it because of the performance woes and you were waiting for the fix, this is the one. I'm hoping Digital Foundry does a follow-up video from their performance analysis initially and tests the difference. I would love to see, and at a deep dive, like what they fixed here. Turning off ray tracing apparently was the big clincher there. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor is also on my list of things to play. And so 2023 is absolute bonkers. I don't understand like how in the world we got here, other than a lot of stuff was delayed from COVID, and now it's done, and stuff is just going nuts. Maybe half the games that came out this year were supposed to come out in 2021, 2022, but we're in September. I know Mortal Kombat's coming, and next month we've got a new Forza, and we've got Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and we have Spider-Man 2. We have so many good games on the way, and this year has already been insane and stacked with good titles, including not Sea of Thieves, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Just awesome. So those are kind of like, I wove some of the news of those games in with my experience with them because they're related. And so now I'm actually going to transition into a proper news segment. Again, I'm 35 minutes into the show already, or so I'm rounding, and I haven't even, so there's just not going to be time for retro. I'm sorry. I got to wrap this stuff up. I have things to do, and about an hour is where I want to be. So if you want to give me your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, and ideas, you can find me over at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's my landing website. There's a link tree there with links to all of my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and we have a Discord server and TikTok, etc. It's all there, as well as RSS feeds to get this podcast every single week. Monday at midnights, I drop an episode, and it's that structure. It's what I'm playing, it's news, it's retro games at the end. So please go check that out. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a review if you can. And help the algorithms and all that stuff. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of some news, and a lot has happened in 2 weeks. So if I miss a story you care about, the best way for you to tell me is what I just said. So go check that, go do that. So first news story comes by way of The Verge, written by Ash Parrish. Saints Row developer Volition is permanently shutting down. Volition, makers of Red Faction, if you remember that on PS2, and Saints Row, is shutting down for good. The news was announced on the company's LinkedIn account at like 12:30, right after Starfield went live. In the post, the company explained that the reason for Volition's closure was tied to parent company Embracer Group's new restructuring program. This past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. As part of that program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. Back in June, Embracer Group announced this restructuring program after the news broke that a $2 billion investment deal with the company had fallen through. Though Embracer kept secret who was on the other side of that deal, Axios reported that it was none other than the Savvy Games Group, the gaming arm of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. As a result of the deal's failure, Embracer said it would restructure the company, including pausing development on some games, reducing spending, and selling off or shutting down studios. Volition is seemingly the first such studio publicly impacted by Embracer's restructuring. Volition was founded back in '93 as Parallax Software, developers of the Descent series of video games. In 1996, it adopted the name Volition before creating The Summoner, which was like a PS2 launch title, Red Faction, and the Saints Row franchises. The studio was acquired by THQ in 2000 and summarily sold to Deep Silver when THQ filed for bankruptcy back in 2017. In 2022, Volition launched a reboot of Saints Row to middling reviews. Volition closed the announcement by saying it would help impacted employees try to find new jobs with a message for fans. We thank our customers and fans around the world for all the love and support over the years, the statement read. You will always be in our hearts. There's a lot to unpack here. So, if you recall, the Embracer Group is funded by Chinese companies mostly, and they were gobbling up acquisitions left and right all last year. They've just constantly acquiring new stuff, and it was kind of cautious. It was like there's too many studios, you have too many games, you're growing way too fast, you're too big, you're not going to be able to sustain this, and that was the scare. This is the fruition of that worry, where a beloved studio, Volition, has no reason to be shut down. They're extremely talented developers. They make awesome, hilarious Saints Row games, and they just did this reboot, and it may have been a misstep, middling reviews, but it's still a solid game. You can get it on PlayStation Plus. And so much talent, so much potential is now gone. So hopefully those people land on their feet. This sucks. And then if you recall in the golf, in professional golf, United States, that Saudi Arabia did the whole, tried to stand up their own golf league, and there was a whole debacle over there. This is nefarious type, money's coming in from a foreign investor, and I'm not super American exceptionalist. America's not better than any other country as far as its values and whatever. Its people aren't better. No, I'm saying when you look at a country like Saudi Arabia that has extremely conservative, radical views to the point where people are killed and in the street for being gay, or a woman speaking out and trying to have her own career or education, or not being a woman of a household is stoned to death publicly, shamed. That's the kind of country that Saudi Arabia is. They're buying into these companies, or trying to, and obviously that deal fell through. So Embracer Group didn't have money, and because they grew too big, they acquired too many studios, and this is what happens. And this is the exact reason why there is concern for this type of stuff, and you got to pay attention to it. And when you look at Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fests and his Game Awards, and you listen to where the advertisements come from, you'll see a lot of Embracer Group. You'll see a lot of what we didn't actually in the latest one, which I love. But there's the Riot Games parent company. I forgot what it's called. Also a Chinese funded company. Tencent, that's the one. Tencent, and they have a few other. It's a Chinese conglomerate. So be cautious of that. This is why. This is exactly what happens, and it sucks. So I hate to see them all go. Like I said, I hope they land on their feet, but Volition is now done. It makes me sad. Coming by way of Polygon from Michael McWhorter, PlayStation Plus is getting a big price hike. Expect to pay at least $20 more a year. Sony's raising the price of a 12-month PlayStation Plus subscription across all plans in September. Subscribers can expect to pay at least $20 more annually at the base level, known as PlayStation Plus Essential. They'll see higher price hikes for extra and premium level subscriptions, including an additional $40 per year for the top tier PlayStation Plus plan. The breakdown is this. It was $80 a year now for the essential base subscription, up from $60, so it's $20 increase. The PlayStation Plus Extra, that's the middle tier, is now $135 a year, up from $100. And the PlayStation Plus Premium 12-month subscription is now $160 a year, up from $120. So it's a 33% increase, y'all. It's a lot. These price changes go into effect on September 6th. So it's already happened. Sony said in an announcement on the PlayStation blog, the price adjustment will enable us to continue bringing high-quality games and value-added benefits to your PlayStation Plus subscription service, the company said. Current 12-month PlayStation Plus subscribers will see those price changes reflected on their next subscription renewal if it takes place on or after November 6th. Sony said, however, any membership changes you make on or after September 6th, such as upgrades, downgrades, or buying additional time, will update your plan reflecting the new price. The PlayStation Plus 12-month subscription price increase is global, so there's other, like the European and yen differences there. This comes right on the heels of Xbox increasing the Game Pass subscription services, so it kind of like you could almost see it, and Nintendo increased the price of their Nintendo Switch Online service with the expansion pass. Sort of like Nintendo did it, but like in a way that was more beneficial seemingly to the consumer to have more stuff. It just made it more expensive at the time. It didn't seem to add a lot, but now they've been beefing it up. So now it's amazing, and it's probably the best deal. In fact, we did an analysis episode, Penguin and I, to see like which platform maker had the most expensive ecosystem, and I don't think it was as clear-cut as we had hoped, but it seems like Sony is nickeling and diming everything and becoming a more boutique sort of ecosystem, and increasing prices now in PlayStation Plus makes them seem more cocky. A PlayStation 5 console, the price was increased in another country that wasn't the United States. And then on the heels of this, there was an announcement for the PlayStation Portal. I think I talked about that last week, which is the handheld remote play device and their new headset, the Pulse Elite and the Pulse Explorer earbuds, and the earbuds are $200, and the new handheld remote play device is also $200, and the handheld device doesn't support Bluetooth connectivity. It only supports their new PlayStation Link proprietary connection type, which you can only find in either the Pulse Elite or the Pulse Explorer earbuds and earphones. And so it just seems like Sony continues to come out with these ridiculously expensive pieces of hardware. The PlayStation VR was $550. VR2 was that. And all this stuff is just, it is expensive. It's all like really expensive. And the quality of the games do back up what they give you. So if you buy into this ecosystem, you're getting top quality, top tier video games that you can't find outside of PlayStation. And the problem is there's been so much cross-generation releases like God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West that we've almost not been incentivized enough to upgrade to the new stuff. It just seems like PlayStation's getting into that cocky, greedy phase that they were in at the end of the PlayStation 2 era, going into PS3, with Jackie Trenton saying things like, oh, they'll buy it because it's PlayStation, it doesn't matter how much it costs kind of deal, you know? So I think the price hike is fine, but this is a huge price hike. I think the 33% increase is a lot, and so I think they could have gone, you know, a little consumer friendlier and maybe not hiked it up so high so fast. Even like hiking the price a little bit here, wait 2 years, hike it up again. I don't know all the math. I'm sure there's way more smarter folks, business and marketing analysis and such, to like figure this stuff out. I don't get paid to do that. So I can just gripe as a consumer and say this is dumb. I don't feel like paying more for the service, but I am feeling like I'm getting what the value out of it anyway, because I play all the stuff across the PlayStation Plus. Sea of Stars was one of the titles that was free on the upgraded tier, so I didn't have to buy that. I got it through PlayStation Plus. But we should support the developers. Like, the subscription models can be bad. They are a safeguard for studios, developers, and publishers to want to ensure that they're going to get something for their game, which does mitigate some risk, especially if you're making a new IP or if you're a newer studio. But it would be a lot nicer, quote unquote, to like, I could just give $35 to the developers of Sea of Stars Sabotage because their game is amazing, and I didn't have to worry about a subscription service to get it. And then I would feel good about, like, instead of paying the monthly fee or the yearly allotment of money, I can then just take that money and just give it straight to the developer to make good games and incentivize them to make good games and continue that. So being a wise consumer is, you want to go through that check mark and figure out, like, what are you doing and what is the most bang for your buck, the most value for you, what works for your household and your budget, etc. So that's the whole. I'm pontificating too much. So next, Nintendo Direct information. So this is where we can put on our tinfoil hats and we can say all kind of weird things. Everything from here on out is salty. So don't come at me if any of this stuff is false. I generally don't do leaks because the Smash Bros. Grinch leak, for example, took Penguin, my co-host, like off the rails with speculation and crazy hilarity around the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate character roster stuff, and all of it was wrong. It was all faked, and it was so hilarious. They were like mocked up pictures, clearly photoshopped images of stuff, and it was awful. So, and ever since then, I was like, okay, we're not doing any more rumors and leaks. But apparently, this leaker for the latest Nintendo Direct goes by the name of Pyoro, who has been established as a reliable leaker, apparently revealed or leaked Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and then it happened. So I didn't follow that leak. I didn't see it. But if that was true and somehow this person did that, this is what's coming up. And I'm going to give you the skinny. I do have a Nintendo Everything article up from Brian. It doesn't say what. This is not, to me, a super reliable journalistic like website integrity. I'm saying a bunch of words. I don't trust this website for my everyday news. Let's put it that way. But this is what they say. There's one thing you can count on. It's a new Nintendo Direct in September. So this is after the Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which I'll get to in a minute. Events are always held during the beginning or middle of the month, ahead of the Tokyo Game Show. Now, with a new Nintendo Direct right around the corner, Pyoro, again, seems to have some early information. Pyoro's first tease is, quote, let's just say fans of a certain MATLAB function will be happy with the upcoming Direct. That's the riddle. That's the tidbit of news. And apparently, fans quickly figured out this was very likely F-Zero with Final Fantasy Tactics and Metroid Prime as the other possibilities, but F-Zero is the general consensus, especially with Pyro liking a tweet reply with that game. So maybe we'll get something new F-Zero related. We haven't seen a new F-Zero game in quite some time. In fact, I'm going to look up the Wikipedia page to find the most recent one, F-Zero Climax from October 21st, 2004 for the Game Boy Advance. And I don't know if this ever came to North America. It did not. So 2004 to now, almost 20 years. So 19 years ago. But yet there's representation in Smash Bros. Through Captain Falcon, and it's on the Nintendo Switch Online. You can get F-Zero 64 on the Nintendo 64 emulator, and it plays awesomely. It's great. Personally, my favorite F-Zero game is the GameCube one, F-Zero GX. I still go back to it occasionally and like mess around. The game is extremely hard. I've always loved F-Zero since the Super Nintendo. It's a wonderful Nintendo racer alternative to Mario Kart, where you have like your kart racer with items and hilarity. F-Zero is a little bit more extremely fast and like more high octane, more actiony. You have to have better reaction time, very much like Wipeout from PlayStation. So I'm excited here. If this is a new F-Zero game, I'd be stoked. That'd be pretty sweet. And we haven't had one in 19 years, so let's go. And then there was another. He tweeted again and suggested a new Donkey Kong game will be announced because there's a little clip from the Mario movie with Donkey Kong in it. And so I don't know what that could mean. We haven't heard from Donkey Kong. On the 9th of September, yesterday, we have a couple of updates. First, regarding the Donkey Kong game, it seems that it'll actually be a Mario vs. Donkey Kong, according to the fight, because it's the fight scene of the Mario movie of Mario fighting Donkey Kong. So Mario vs. Donkey Kong was like a little bit of a series. There's a few entries in it. It came out in 2004, the first release, Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy Advance. Yep, I think I actually have this. And it was a weird like crossover spin-off game that had Mario and Donkey Kong. It's based on puzzle platforming, the return of Pauline and that rivalry between Mario and Donkey Kong is kind of the center of it. And yeah, in 2016, there was Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge on the Wii U, and that's the latest entry in the franchise. But there was March of the Minis in 2006, Minis March again in 2009, Mini Land Mayhem in 2010, Minis on the Move, Mario and Donkey Kong Minis on the Move 2013. So it wouldn't surprise me that we would get a new entry in that franchise. Just because it's been a while, and it kind of like I just listed all those titles where they're just these small little spin-off things that happen. They trickle out, every generation there's a new entry, so that makes sense. Pac-Man 99 will apparently be discontinued, and there'll be remakes of a DS game and a Wii game. So, and apparently the previously teased Princess Peach game from the last Direct should also be showing up again as well. It seems like a pretty good banger, like, not gonna lie. This article here talks about maybe the F-Zero and the Pac-Man 99 are related, and so maybe we're getting something like an F-Zero 99, which would be wild. Those 99 games are interesting because you do play against 99 people, and you get knocked out really fast. There was Tetris, Pac-Man, and there was a Super Mario one. They're fun. So who knows? What I would absolutely love is to see NES Remix come back, but that's more of like a Wii U and 3DS title. The NES Remix games were awesome. And of course, we don't know what's going on with Retro Studios and Metroid Prime 4 still. There hasn't been an update on that in a while. And then if there is, in fact, the Nintendo Switch 2, which is my next news story, there's some new information that had come out over it, all the rumors about it. And then maybe we get that announcement at this Direct, and the F-Zero and the Donkey Kong and Metroid are all like Switch 2 titles, which would be crazy launch lineup, in addition to like maybe a sequel to Mario Odyssey if that team has been doing anything. But I'll give you my take when I'm done reading all this stuff. So over at Nintendo Life, a much more solid journalism website that I do trust, Gavin Lane, Nintendo Switch 2, everything we know about Nintendo's next console, NVIDIA chips, and rumors. There's a whole timeline here that walks you through all of the stuff that we've heard in the past. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give you what the latest update is. And the latest update so far is apparently at Gamescom, there was a showing behind the scenes of some Nintendo Switch 2 hardware to select developers in games media. And the sources indicated that the power of the new hardware was demonstrated using the Matrix Awakens Unreal 5 demo from 2021, which was absolutely insane. I don't know if you had a chance to play that or not. I did it on the PS5, and it was mind-blowing how realistic it looked. So a version of Breath of the Wild was reportedly also used to showcase the extra power of the device, although there's no indication Nintendo plans to release an updated version of that Switch launch title. It was used as a demonstration only. Sources suggested that the demoed equipment could be used in a handheld mode, much like the current Switch. Well, that kind of solidifies the rumor about backwards compatibility, right? It's like, here's Breath of the Wild running, on this new hardware, and here's how much better it looks and how much smoother it runs. That sounds awesome. So there's been patents revealing Nintendo's experimented with upscaling technology. An upscaled 4K solution might be likely as opposed to a native 4K presentation, according to the VGC report. The console demo's visuals were comparable to the current gen offerings from both Sony and Microsoft, running with NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling technology with advanced ray tracing enabled. So that sounds promising and awesome, and I'm excited. Finally, a 4K device. They caught up. Like the Wii was notorious not HD, was 480p, while the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 supported up to 1080p games, but mostly 720. We're like there again. The Wii U did the thing. It was like, oh sweet, now I have an HDMI cable from my Wii U to my TV. It's 1080p. All right, we're on par. And then the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One stayed 1080p for the most part. And then the Pros, of course, brought the resolution up to 4K. Now we're here in the 4K, and Nintendo's behind again because they're doing this if you do an A/B pattern. The A is PlayStation and Microsoft releasing consoles, and then Nintendo's the B. It's like 2 or 3 years into the life cycle of the other one. It comes out the new Switch, right? The Switch came out in 2017, so it's 7 years old now, almost. In 2024, it'll be 7 years old in March. So it's approaching its 7th year. So the timeline for this, apparently, according Piers Harding Rolls of Ampere Analysis told Games Industry Biz at the end of 2022 that the company is forecasting a new Nintendo hardware for 2024. The VGC has also recently claimed that the Switch's successor will release in the second half of 2024, with multiple sources stating that development kits are in the hands of key partner studios as of August 2023. So when I first heard all this news and all these rumors and all this stuff, this was before Gamescom and before the developers actually saw it, and kind of around the rumor the development kits were being sent out, which was like hit or miss, salty, you didn't know. I was like, no way. We have Tears of the Kingdom just launched. The Switch is still selling gangbusters. Now we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder coming out with a new OLED model, coming out for the holidays. They're obviously going to push that super hard going into the holiday season this year. And then we have Luigi's Mansion 2 remake, and we have the new Peach game coming out next year. We have a timeline leading into 2024. I just didn't see the new Switch being a conversation piece yet, for that. And I would say like 2025 would be the year, like March 2025 would be the year they would target, because it's far enough out to get these games out. But, now here we are. Like, maybe it's right, second half of 2024. Like, maybe they do a fall launch for the Switch 2, and they have... I don't remember when the Switch 1 was announced. What was the original reveal of Nintendo Switch? I'm going to look this up because I want to see what their timeline was. So the first public news of the Nintendo Switch hardware happened alongside the announcement of Nintendo and DNA's partnership in March 2015. But at that time, Nintendo referred to the console under the codename NX and described it as a brand new concept. Now, it's one thing to go back in time and look at Nintendo's track record, but it's another thing entirely to look at this piece of news specifically because of the Wii U. The situation over at Nintendo was dire. They were hurting badly. The Wii U was a train wreck. Everything about the Wii U was terrible for their business. They needed to get out of it and ahead of it now, immediately. So 2 years ahead of the launch of the actual Nintendo Switch, of course they announced, we have a new thing. And it's an entirely new concept. We have to prove to the world and the shareholders that we're going in somewhere totally different. So the actual official announcement for the Nintendo Switch was actually October 20th, 2016. October, November, December, January, February, March, 5 months before the console launched in March 2017. So if we look at that same timeline, we're looking at a Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. If it's 5 months before the second half of next year, we're looking at like a February or a March announcement time window of 2024 to showcase the hardware, to actually get our eyes on what does it look like, what are the features, what is the hardware, what is the thing, with an official launch window probably of like holiday 2024. So I would suspect we'll get a Nintendo Direct sometime in the early spring of next year, and it will showcase the entirety of this whole thing, all of it. Backwards compatibility, questions answered, accounts transfer. We already kind of got the whole, your account will stay the same, you'll link, nothing changes there. All that stuff will come out, early spring of next year for a fall launch or early winter launch. But they're going to want to hit Christmas 2024. I know it because it's Nintendo. So they're going to want to hit the holidays hard. So I imagine they'll come with a September launch like we're in now, September, October, with November kind of being the latest. Who knows? Maybe they do a June announcement at the Summer Games, E3, whatever the crap that looks like. Oh yeah, there was E3 news this week too. Yikes. I don't have time to get into that. Apparently E3 is coming back for 2024, and the guys and gals, the company, the organization that partnered with the ESA to do E3 for 2023 that got canned is now no longer working with them, and so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that's the timeline. That's Termite's prediction. We're talking about a spring announcement. Early spring announcement for a late fall, early winter release drop for November, pushing into the holidays of next year. As far as the launch titles, it's probably going to be a successor to Mario Odyssey, maybe Mario Kart 9, and maybe Metroid Prime 4. It's been, at this point, are we getting it? Either that or Metroid Prime 4 will be the swan song of the Switch, and we'll get the Metroid Prime 2 remaster at this Direct we're going to get for September, and then maybe they'll get Metroid Prime 3. Or another prediction, maybe we'll get Metroid Prime 2 and 3 together, but it won't be a remaster, it'll just be a port. And leaving one is the gorgeous remaster. Who knows? Nintendo, they do their own thing. They're impossibly hard to predict. So we'll see what happens. Another last bit of housekeeping. I don't know when it's going to happen, but my days as a podcaster are coming to an end. I am going to sail away into the sunset, away from the world of podcasting. Termite's Buzz will end. I am going to, and I'm currently in the works of getting and collaborating with Penguin to come back for one final episode of 80-Bit Pod Smash. It will be a 2-hour-long, big episode. We haven't gotten our thoughts together about how we're going to talk, what are we going to talk about, what the topics of the show, but it'll be a big, giant retrospective on the whole world of what we've done in the video game industry in 2023, how crazy it was. But Termite's Buzz is going to be over. It's done. It's impossibly hard for me to sustain on my own, given my current life situation. Children, 2 working kids, neighborhood commitments, life commitments, family commitments. So it's been awesome. But I don't have a timeline or a deadline for that yet. I just wanted to put that bug in your ear so that when it does happen, it's not like, what are you doing? So that it could last the rest of this year. It could last 2 months. It could last a month. I have no idea. Excuse me for the cough. But I want to put that bug in your ear that when Penguin and I get together, we are planning the final end of the 80-Bit Pod Smash brand and the Termites Buzz. So with that, I'm not done yet. So I will see you next week with another episode of Termites Buzz. Just keep your RSS feeds tuned to this link, 80bitpodsmash.com, landing website where you find links to all of our stuff. Jump into all of my socials and tell me how you feel about everything, and tell me if I'm wrong or off my rocker. With that, I will see you next week.